Hello, my name is Rachel. I am part of the Switch Together team. We are happy to offer this Solar 101 webinar where you can learn all about solar installations, battery storage, and the finances of going solar. In this webinar, you will be hearing from our partner, Solar United Neighbors. Solar United Neighbors is a vendor-neutral nonprofit organization that works throughout the U.S. to help people go solar and fight for their energy rights. They are incredibly knowledgeable on solar, and we are happy to be working with them to offer Switch Together. They will walk you through the basics of solar technology and the economics of purchasing a system. In the second half of their presentation, you will also be presented with information that is specific to where you live. Participants in our program will also have access to installer webinars. Those sessions will walk through our program's personal recommendations, including installer presentations. In addition to our webinars, you can access more information about solar panels and our program on our website's blog or our FAQ section. I'll now give the floor to our partners at Solar United Neighbors.
Hi, my name is Corey Ramsden. I'm the VP for Go Solar Programs here at Solar United Neighbors, or SUN, and I'm here to cover some basics on solar technology and economics. This information will better prepare you to make a decision on how to go solar. At SUN, we're a vendor-neutral 501c3 nonprofit that helps people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. We're a national organization with staff all over the country. In 11 states, DC and Puerto Rico, we also offer bulk purchasing programs like this. Since we got our start in 2007, we've helped thousands of people go solar. Our story began with something called the Mount Pleasant Solar Co-op in Washington, DC back in 2007. Walter, pictured on the left, is the son of our executive director, Anya Schoolman. He and his friend Diego wanted to go solar. Anya looked into it and quickly found out that going solar wasn't so easy at the time. Walter and Diego went door to door around the neighborhood and signed up 50 neighbors interested in working together to untangle the complicated process. After lots of meetings and research and coordination, 45 neighbors in that first group went solar. After that, Anya started getting calls from people all over the country wanting to organize similar groups. Today, we focus on helping people go solar, joining together, and fighting for their energy rights. Sometimes that means an educational webinar like this, or it could be a solar happy hour to celebrate a new batch of solar homeowners. And sometimes it means defending solar energy bill crediting policies, or working to pass a state law to prevent homeowners associations from stopping solar, or working with a city to make solar permitting easier for everyone. Before we get into the presentation, I want to take a moment to address the inequities in our current energy system. Low-income and communities of color have the highest energy burdens. On average, low-income households spend 7.2% of their income on utilities, while higher incomes spend only 2.3%. Communities of color, particularly the Black community, bear an unfair share of the cost of energy production, but receive fewer benefits. Families of color are more often harmed by higher utility bills and shutoffs. On top of that, housing discrimination is a barrier to homeownership and thus solar ownership. Rooftop solar lets communities invest locally. It creates good local jobs, and it brings control of the energy system within our reach. We're working hard here toward a new energy system that everyone can participate in, one that is fair and equitable and has rooftop solar as the cornerstone. So let's get to the main part of the presentation. In this webinar, we'll be covering not only the technology topics you need to be a good consumer, but also the economics and incentives of solar that make it such a great way to invest in your home and lower your electricity costs for the long term. Today, we're talking about solar photovoltaic or solar PV technology. PV technology converts light energy into usable electricity. The majority of today's solar market is PV technology. Solar thermal is another residential solar technology. That would be for heating a pool or directly heating your home's hot water, but it is a small percentage of today's solar market. So we'll be talking about strictly solar PV or solar photovoltaic technology here. A solar panel is constructed of silicon cells and is surrounded by layers on either side to protect it from the elements and make it rigid so it can be mounted securely. The silicon cells convert the sun's light into electricity. These panels are connected to the roof through a racking system. Racking comes in a variety of types that allow solar installers to connect a solar array to just about any building or ground location. One of the most common roofing types is asphalt shingle. But for this type of roof, attachments are made to the rafters of your home through the roof and then waterproofed to prevent leaks, either through flashings, as seen in this photo. Specialized compression and sealant attachments are also an option. Those attachments provide the base for aluminum rails, and then the panels are bolted on top of those rails. Here's another roofing type. This is a standing seam metal roof that shows the use of clamps to attach to the roof seams and then to the racking that sits on top of it. Fun fact, this is my roof. I live in Washington, D.C., and this system has been on my roof since 2012, generating electricity to cover about 40% of my energy needs. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a good roof for solar. A solar array works best when it has direct sunlight hitting it. As you can see here, there are several factors that make a good roof for solar. Typically, a roof facing east, south, or west with minimal shade and enough space, usually at least 200 square feet, will be best for solar production. You also want to make sure your roof has enough life left on it so you don't have to pay someone a couple $1,000s, usually, to come back and uninstall the solar array, so a roofer can fix or replace your roof and then have a solar installer reinstall the solar afterwards. Generally speaking, your roof should have at least 10 to 15 years of life left on it if you're considering solar. If you have space and your local permitting rules allow it, putting solar on the ground is another great option. The panels can be pointed directly south and benefit from better airflow beneath them to maximize energy production. Ground mount systems cost a little more because of the additional materials and the need for trenching the wires underground back to your home. Not all solar installers offer ground mounts, and they may not be part of this program, so be sure to ask your installer if you're interested in that option. Solar inverters are the brains of the solar array. They convert the electricity coming from the panels into a form that your house can use. They also allow you to see energy production from the solar array and how it performs over time, because inverters report that information to an online monitoring app you can access. There are a few different kinds of inverters. String inverters, on the left, are a single unit that control many panels. Microinverters are smaller and get attached behind each panel to control it individually. And optimizers plus a string inverter are sort of a combination of the two. Your installer will recommend the type they feel is best for your home, depending on things like how much shade there is. Shade can greatly impact how much energy your system will produce. Microinverters and optimizers are often recommended when there is potential for intermittent shade. Your electric panel is where the output of your solar array will go. Your installer will run wires from your inverter equipment to your electric panel so that solar generated energy can power some or all of the electric loads in your home. In some cases, your electric panel may need an upgrade to support solar, but this isn't common. Your installer can tell you whether you need one once they take a closer look at your home. So let's put this all together. You can see here, we put all the components together in one solar array. The panels are on the roof. The wiring comes down into your inverter. Then the wiring goes into your main electric panel. From there, it powers loads in your home. And when you are making more than you need, that energy goes back out onto the grid to power other things nearby in your area. We'll discuss more about excess electricity production later in the webinar. Let's make sure we're on the same page with some terms we'll be using. First, a kilowatt is a measure of power capacity. That's the output rating of your solar panels and the solar array as a whole. A kilowatt hour, on the other hand, is energy and is what your array will produce over time. This is also what you pay for on your utility bill. Average systems can range from 6 or 7 kilowatts, but sometimes might be as small as 3 or as big as 15 kilowatts or more. How big your system is will depend on several factors. 1, how much space you have for solar. 2, how much energy you use in a year. And 3, your budget. We see lots of interest in batteries in our work, so let's talk about energy storage. Without batteries included, your solar array will not produce electricity when the utility grid is out. This is because inverters are designed not to send electricity back into the grid during an outage so that repair people can safely fix the lines. If you want power when the grid is down, you need to add batteries. This lets you store electricity, and then you can disconnect from the grid in an outage and run some or all of your house on the batteries. The batteries get recharged by the solar panels. Batteries can be expensive, so you need to consider how often the power goes out and what's important to keep running when it does. In most states, adding batteries right now is more about backup power when the grid is out. Due to the high cost of batteries, they are usually not going to make you money. That's starting to change in some places, though, where battery owners can get paid to help out the grid, but this is still relatively new. Here's a more concrete example of the kind of things you can run when the power is out if you have a battery. Depending on how much battery storage you can afford, you may have to choose how much you want to run on batteries during an outage. This family chose only to run some of their loads, with the solar array recharging their batteries. As you can see, some appliances like a dryer or an electric stove require more power and energy to run, so they chose not to include those. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit here and talk about solar crediting. What happens when you are producing more solar energy than you can use in your home at a given moment? The answer is those electrons flow back out onto the grid to power nearby electrical loads in your neighbor's home or maybe even the business down the street. Once those electrons leave your house and pass through your electric meter, you can get a credit for producing that electricity. This credit usually shows up on your electricity bill. How much of a credit depends on where you are and the rules in your area. Those rules can vary by state or even by utility. In some places, the credit value is the same for every kilowatt hour you send to the grid as the cost to you to buy that kilowatt hour. This is called full energy net metering. In other places, the credit value is less and can even fluctuate based on the time of day or the time of year. You can check with our team about the rules in your area, and you can also ask your installer. We'll also go over more specifics on the rules in your area later in the webinar. In the last part of this section, let's cover some common questions from people considering solar. First, warranties. Your solar array has several kinds of warranties. First, the panels and inverters both come with product warranties from the manufacturer. This covers product defects. They can range from 10 to 25 years depending on the product, and for the inverters, you can usually pay a little extra to extend the warranty period. The panels also come with a production warranty. This warranty is the manufacturer's promise that the panels will continue to produce at a specific rate, which often declines very slowly over time. These warranties are usually 25 to 30 years. Last, you have a workmanship warranty from your installer. This warranty usually covers the work they do to install a system, including roof penetrations. These warranties can range from 2 years all the way up to 20, depending on the installer. It's common for bulk purchase programs with our installers in bulk purchasing programs to offer longer warranties due to the competitive bidding process. Homeowners insurance. When you install solar, there's typically no impact on your home insurance rates, but we have heard of some companies increasing rates and some decreasing them. It's best to call your insurance company ahead of time and let them know you're installing solar and ask them about any impact to your policy. Maintenance. Solar is a very low maintenance technology, but like anything else installed in your home, like an air conditioner or a furnace, you need to get it inspected periodically. We typically recommend having someone come take a look and do a visual inspection every 3 to 5 years. This is also a good time to get your panels cleaned if you live somewhere where dirt and dust tend to accumulate. Speaking of cleaning, if it rains periodically where you live, then it's usually not necessary to clean your panels. However, if you live in a very dry climate, you may want to wash your panels once a year to remove any buildup of pollen or dust. If you do clean your solar panels, we suggest using lukewarm water and no household cleaning products because they may damage the panels. You can also hire someone else to clean your panels. And please, if you can't reach your panels safely, call a professional to clean them instead. System lifespan. Solar arrays are built to last 20 to 25 years. They are an asset that reduces your cost of electricity for the long term. So it's important to keep them in good working order. Homeowners association. If you live in an area with a homeowners association, be sure to check with them when going solar to confirm the process for approval. Many HOAs are supportive of solar, but some aren't. It's best to know ahead of time to avoid any surprises. In many states, there are also laws that say if or how much an HOA can restrict solar. Your installer may also be willing to help you through this process, and we have a guide available as well to help you navigate the process. And last, historic districts. If you live someplace in a historic preservation rules, be sure to ask your installer what additional steps may be required. Historic districts sometimes restrict whether your panels can be visible from street level. This may require the installer to make different design decisions to accommodate the rules, and there may be additional approval steps to get the permit. Moving on to solar economics. That covers all the tech topics we want to share, so let's switch now and talking about the economics of solar. As you can see from this chart, the cost of solar has dropped dramatically over the years. Gone are the days of solar being a boutique investment for the well-off. Because of solar price declines and various financing options, solar is available to a wider and wider cross-section of people. As that price has come down, the main area of cost for installers has changed. The main takeaway from this graphic here is that the biggest cost to installers these days are soft costs, or in other words, everything but the equipment and materials. That includes the cost of finding new customers like you. This is one of the reasons that bulk purchasing programs like this work. They reduce the cost to installers to find customers, and you share that savings with them. One of the main drivers of the economics of solar is the federal tax credit. Available all over the country, and thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, it's set at 30% of the system cost until 2032. This is a non-refundable credit, which means that it is directly reducing your tax liability. If there's any credit left over in 1 year, you can roll it over and take the rest of it in future years until it's used up. If you own your home, this credit is likely available to you. As always, with any tax issue, please consult your tax professional to make sure you understand whether this credit is applicable to your circumstances. To pay for solar, most people need some sort of financing. There are a lot of options available today. Loans are available through your installer, and you can also source those funds directly from your local bank or credit union, or even a home equity line of credit. In some states, third-party ownership is also available. In this arrangement, someone else owns the solar array and maintains it, and you just pay them monthly for either the use of the array, which is a lease, or for each kilowatt hour the array generates, which is called a power purchase agreement, or PPA. Thanks for listening. We're mostly done, but there are some solar topics that are more specific to where you live, like how solar is credited and valued, state and local incentives, some local tech considerations, and local pricings for solar. We'll cover these topics next.
Hi, my name is Mia, and I'm a Florida Program Associate with Solar United Neighbors. Today, I'm going to be giving you some locally specific information about going solar in the state of Florida. On this slide, you'll see an illustrated version of the process of net metering. Luckily, most utilities in the Central Florida area offer real net metering, meaning that every kilowatt hour you send back to the grid has the same value as a kilowatt hour that you would purchase from the grid. This is good news because it means that even if you're generating more energy than you're using, that energy is not going to waste. Instead, that is going out and being powered in your neighbors' homes, and you are receiving a credit on your bill. If you have any questions about net metering for your utility, you can always reach out to us at Solar United Neighbors or check your utility's website. The sizing of your solar system will depend on a few factors. Some of these include the space that you have available, your budget, as well as how much energy you're using in your home. Here are two homes that are in the Central Florida area and both have 26 panels. However, you can see that the home on the right is a smaller system with only 6.7 kilowatts. That does account for 100% of the energy that's used in this home, meaning this resident is using less power. Maybe they have fewer people living in the home or more energy efficiency upgrades. As you can see in the last bullet, most systems are between 4 and 12 kilowatts, but like I said, there's different factors that'll go into how big your particular system will be. On this slide, you can see an example of what your energy bill might look like. The 300 kilowatt hours at the top is the total amount of electricity that's being used from the grid. The amount of power you generated but didn't use and instead sent back to the grid will immediately be subtracted from the total amount. This is what you'll be credited for, and what's left is what you will pay your utility. If you generate more solar credits than you use in 1 month, you'll have those as a credit or a bank on a later utility bill. You will also have to pay customer charges, connection fees, and applicable taxes and fees, so make sure to look out for those on your bill as well. On this slide, you'll see some example pricing, as well as estimated savings over time. The second row shows the average solar co-op pricing from our past solar co-ops. As you can see, there's also a 30% federal tax credit that's taken off, and I'll talk about that in a later slide, but this will give you the net cost of your system. As you can see, we have some estimated yearly savings for 1 year, 10 years, and then the lifetime, which is 25. The net profit is your net cost minus the lifetime savings, those 25 years. So that's how much you should be profiting over the 25-year life cycle. On this slide, you'll see some local incentives for energy efficiency upgrades. If you have OUC or Duke as your electric utility, they have many rebates you can take advantage of, as well as free home energy audits. If you live in the city of Winter Park, their utility also offers a free home energy audit, as well as rebates that you can look into. Before I talked about the 30% federal tax credit, you do want to consult your tax advisor to make sure that you can take advantage of this, but this can really help you in financing your panels. We also have more financing information on our website, solarunitedneighbors.org/Florida, so make sure to check that out as well. For some other local considerations, obviously in the state of Florida, we have some pretty severe storms as well as hurricanes, so it's important to know that there are state and local requirements ensuring that solar installations can withstand local weather conditions. It's also good to know that many families in Florida have chosen to opt for battery backup, which can help during storms if the grid does go down. This also provides an extra resiliency factor. Again, my name is Mia. Thank you so much for listening, and you can reach out to us at flteam@solarunitedneighbors.org. Thanks.
All right, this brings us to the end of the webinar. Just a few final comments. If you're interested in participating in our program, you can take a free roof test on our website to see if your home is suitable for solar. It's completely free to participate, and there's no obligation to accept if you register. Lastly, a survey about our webinar will pop up on your screen. If you have a moment, we would appreciate your feedback so that we can continue to improve these sessions. That is everything. Thank you for attending. We hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, please visit our website or contact our help desk at solar@switchtogether.com. Thank you.